few opening remarks, and it goes back to the title that AmCham has put for the talk today. COVID-19 is a pandemic that has actually pushed us all in different ways. And I think the overarching theme of this pandemic is really humility. All of us are being challenged in different ways, and all of us are very humble in the way we need to think about this. And through this humility, we are becoming more innovative. We are pushing more the frontiers of collaboration, coordination. When you say there's the opportunity of multilateralism, I think no country in the globe today is by itself. All of us, whether we're policymakers, we're citizens, we're in the private sector, we're in the government, everybody is being affected by this in a very similar way. So nobody is excluded. And that sense actually pushes forward the agenda of multilateralism, where common problems need global solutions. So everyone, while they are taking their actions locally, it adds up to improving the global picture. COVID is really a global humanitarian challenge. And as I mentioned, every one of us is being humbled by its magnitude and how it's been affecting the way we think and the way we operate. But nonetheless, as policymakers, as governments, you know, we have to be hopeful, we have to be helpful, because that's the only way that we can help the community and push forward. And Egypt is not new to crises. We've shown resilience over the past decade. I remember my days at the central bank when the global financial crisis happened in 2008, and then 2011, and then 2013, and et cetera, et cetera. So at each moment in time, you're being challenged in a different way. It's a mini crisis, it's a global crisis, it's a domestic, it's a transformation, whatever you want to call it or label it. But at the end of the day, it's through our multilateral and bilateral partnership and the development story that we want to showcase together with this new narrative that we will be able to move forward. As much as this is a very tough time for everyone, I think there's huge opportunity moving forward, opportunity to engage locally, opportunity to engage with our partners of development. And this is what we are working very hard on doing. Egypt is a very diversified economy. Egypt has a big population, and we do stand out, as came out in the IMF report. And we're hoping, because the time of the lockdown, or there was no lockdown, but the time of the curfew, etc., was quite relatively short when you take a look at the rest of the world. And the base is there. So it's very encouraging that Egypt does stand out compared to other countries in the region. Of course, there are some sectors that have been hardly hit compared to others. There is opportunity in certain sectors, such as investments in health or investments in infrastructure and investments particularly in telecom. So there are certain sectors that are going to naturally pick up, while others are going to be hardly hit. Economics, we have a concept which is learning by doing, right? So there are new challenges that are posed on us. I think the idea of always depending on global value chains and global supply chains is being revisited. It might be an opportunity for more dependence on local production lines. The idea is, how fast are you able to do that? What are the sectors that have complementarities and therefore you can build on, etc. So I think this concept of revisiting global value chains, and this idea that, you know, if one big country cannot provide the supply, then many things are put on hold. That is something that is bound to change. Again, economies have to be adaptive. But there is a very big degree of learning by doing, and as this moves forward globally, this is what we're going to see. I believe very much in the private sector. The private sector is quite agile in responding to different circumstances, and you know, the private-public partnership is something that we have seen taking place in the country, and going forward, what we hope is that whether it's in telecoms, infrastructure, other you know, food security is going to be a very big issue. Therefore, I mean, globally, therefore, the idea of agriculture, produce, and food processing, how can you actually, every country increase its local produce and be able to very quickly and swiftly use elements there. Then comes the idea of water salination, water irrigation, etc. So there is so much potential given the sectors and the emphasis of certain sectors going forward, and we do hope to see you know, the private sector engaged. Of course, there are certain challenges with respect to liquidity issues, respect to their debt issues, but I believe that the policies that have been taken so far should help in that sense. We also have with our multilateral institutions, and I'm happy that you have a session with some of them that Sylvia mentioned will take place in the weeks ahead, where there are liquidity lines and credit lines provided by IFIs to the private sector as well. And we commend that because the international institutions are not only helping sovereign, you know, the sovereign state, but they're also providing for the private sector. And this is extremely, extremely important because of the employment, because of the accumulated knowledge and technology that is found in certain firms. So I think definitely we will be supporting as much as possible the private sector in the period ahead.